okay?
Okay.
How you can hear, how you can listen. Okay? ¿Qué me empezar ahorita? Ya, tú mismo eres tú.
Okay. Okay. Well, first, this Incan site was built in the 1440 under the leadership of King Pachacutec. He was the ninth king, he was the most powerful king, and he built this place. And the other question is, how long did it take to build Machu Picchu? 40, 50 years approximately. And how many people work in the construction of Machu Picchu? People said 15,000 or 20,000 people work in the construction of Machu Picchu. And the other question is, when and why did they get here? That's the other question, because there are other mountains and the access to get here is hard. We have to walk from Cusco 75 miles or 120 kilometers, all right? Why did they get here? Because Incas were conquering, they were expanding their territory. That's the reason why they arrived here in the 1440s, okay? And when was Machu Picchu abandoned? Machu Picchu was abandoned in 1540. And why did Incas abandon this place? Because Spanish conquistadors in the year 1532, they arrived to this place, they arrived to the Incan Empire, and they started controlling a lot of lands and territories. And the people who used to live in Machu Picchu, they wanted to defeat Spanish conquistadors, because the Spanish conquistadors arrived in 1532, and 1 year later they made it to Cusco, and in Cusco they started decapitating, killing the leaders and everything. That's why when Machu Picchu citizens heard these problems happening already in Cusco, they had to leave this place, all right? That's the reason why they abandoned, because they wanted to join to the army who was fighting already with the Spanish conquistadors in 1532. We don't know exactly the date when this place was abandoned, but the experts speculated and they said that probably Machu Picchu was abandoned in 1540, and the Incas wanted to come back eventually to this place, but they never came back. What happened? In the year 1572, the Spanish conquistadors defeated the Incas. Where? In the last refuge of the Incas. And the last refuge of the Incas is located farther from Machu Picchu. Northwest, 160 kilometers approximately, or 100 miles away, is located Vilcabamba, the last refuge, the last city. That was the place where Spaniards and Incas fought for the last time in the year 1572. Something that you need to know is that this place was never conquered, never visited by Spanish conquistadors. It was kept in secret until 1902 and 1911. What happened in the year 1902? The local farmer with the name Agustin Lizarraga discovered this place. He was getting rid of the vegetation, and the fire reached to this mountain. Some terraces and houses show up. That's how he discovered in 1902, but he never shared the information of Machu Picchu, all right? But why didn't he share the information of this place? Because according to the history, there were temples, and there are temples that we will see soon, and these temples were completely covered by sheets of gold and silver. That's one of the reasons why the farmer who discovered in 1902, he didn't share the information of this place, okay? And now let's highlight the year 1911. In the year 1911, the North American explorer, he comes to Cusco with a dream to find the last refuge of the Incas. As I said, it's located far away from here, because that's the place that became famous, because the Spanish conquistadors recorded that place in 1911. And Mr. Hiram Bingham, a North American explorer from Yale University, he teaches South American history in Yale University. That's the reason why he comes to Cusco, to find Vilcabamba, the last refuge of the Incas. And after 6 days riding a horse and asking people along the way, this person makes it there, behind this mountain. By the way, the mountain that we have in front of us, that's Mount Huayna Picchu. And the mountain that we have back there, is Mount Machu Picchu. Mr. Hiram Bingham made it behind this mountain where he met a farmer, and the farmer shares the information of this place on July 23rd, and the next day on July 24th, 1911. The farmer guided to Mr. Hiram Bingham to the entrance of Machu Picchu. And to get here, they had to make a wooden bridge down in the river. The river that we see down there is known as Urubamba River. Mr. Bingham with the farmer, with machete in hand, climbed up to the entrance of Machu Picchu. And here, when they arrived, they found these two native families living already in Machu Picchu. And who are these families? These families are the workers of Agustin Lizárraga. Agustin Lizárraga, the person who found this place in 1902, he invited in 1907 two native families to live here in Machu Picchu. Mr. Bingham comes here and asks these farmers, and the farmers were busy according to the history that morning. Mr. Bingham asked them, "Excuse me, is this Vilcabamba?" And the farmers responded, "Not, this is Machu Picchu." Mr. Hiram Bingham, for the first time, heard the word Machu Picchu, okay? Because he's looking for Vilcabamba. And Mr. Bingham asked them, "Excuse me, what is Machu Picchu?" And Machu Picchu is a Quechua name, which means old mountain, ancient mountain, okay? Mr. Bingham also that morning had a guidance service here in Machu Picchu with a boy, 10 years old boy, Sean Pablo Alvarez. Muéstrame esa fotito, ver? Okay. And Mr. Hiram Bingham in 1911 explored Machu Picchu with this little boy. Okay. He guided to Mr. Bingham for 3 hours in Machu Picchu. La fotito, la foto. Okay, this is Mr. Hiram Bingham, the North American explorer. He teaches history in Yale University, as I said, okay? And his dream is to find Vilcabamba, but on his journey, he stumbled here in Machu Picchu. And this is the farmer who discovered in 1902 Machu Picchu. And here we have the first picture that Mr. Bingham took of Machu Picchu. What do we see over there? Nothing. The whole side is completely covered in vegetation. But Mr. Hiram Bingham had a guiding tour for 3 hours in Machu Picchu. After that, he left. He goes back to USA, and in USA, he visits National Geographic Society, Yale University, and he comes back to Peru, and he had the help also of the Peruvian government in 1912. All these people, they started excavating this place. And what did they get from Machu Picchu? 174 human skeletons plus 40,000 artifacts. All of them were put in wooden boxes and they were shipped up to USA, okay? With the agreement to study these skeletons and artifacts for 1 year. But this never came back. Only the 1% came back in the year 2010 with the help of Barack Obama president. This guy made some laws, regulations, and that's why we have all these artifacts in Cusco. If you have a day off, you should go. In Cusco, Machu Picchu Museum. Okay? Mr. Hiram Bingham, this person is the first one who speculated about Machu Picchu. What did he say about Machu Picchu? He studied the skeletons, and the skeletons said that 80% were female bodies and 20% male bodies. He thought that Machu Picchu was mainly inhabited by women, and these women were not a regular people. These women were very special people known as virgins. Back in the day, in the 15th century, the Incas had one principal wife and hundreds of concubines. He thought that the king who built Machu Picchu lived with his virgins. He thought that was the case with Machu Picchu. And he said that Machu Picchu is the royal residence. All right? The royal house where the king lived with his virgins. He thought that that was the case with Machu Picchu. But later on, in the 1990s and in 2000, the skeletons were restudied, and now we have a different information. that the skeletons are not anymore 80-20, now are 50% men and 50% women. What happened with Mr. Hyde in 1913? Why did he say 80-20? Technology is everything. Technology nowadays is more accurate, more precise, and now we can see better the skeletons. So we can say that Machu Picchu, now we ask ourselves, then what was it? And I told you already that Machu Picchu had multiple purposes. In terms of economy, it was an economical center. In terms of military, it was a fortress. And in terms of religion, it was a religious center or a sanctuary. Okay? So those are the answers that you need to know about Machu Picchu, Mr. Christian. Do you have any question about this place?
No, everything's okay.
All right.
I understand, yes.
Okay. Now, ready to explore the site? Shall we go there?
Okay.
Vámonos.